your cognitive functions in your prefrontal cortex can't actually, there's a bottleneck. You can't take in everything that's in your environment.
Right.
But your brain will then sift through, before you even become aware of it, what you're going to pay attention to. One of the ways it does this and sort this information is based on what other people are doing. That's one of the main things. And so the brain can keep from having to process as much data by looking at what people around them are doing, because they're all trying to survive. And so it uses other people's behavior and where their eyeballs are pointing in order to infer what's important that they need to pay attention to. And this is where it gets into how you can increase your webinars by insane amounts, how you can increase your opt-in pages in crazy amounts, how that you can change how, even if you're single, how females look at you. Like, it literally can change your life if you know what I'm about to say. So the first time I experienced it, I was in an airport with my first cousin.
Master of sales.
And we were there, and I was a young green whippersnapper, and I was sitting there at the gate, and, there's chairs everywhere. And sometimes, where you charge your phones and things and laptops is more now. It's usually like
between the seats,
in between the seats. At the time, this one was actually in the floor, and it was kind of in between. There was like a walkway, and it was kind of in between.
Those are still there.
These two chairs,
so they can vacuum.
That's right. And so what it was is, and then it had a little flap, and you could charge your laptop or whatever. And so my cousin just walked over there. He just was standing there. He said, "Hey, Rollin." I said, "What?" He said, "Come here for a second." I said, "Okay." So I walked over there, and he started pointing at it. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Lower your voice. Talk a little quieter." I said, "What are we doing?" He said, "I just need you to point at the ground, at that receptacle, and keep talking to me just like this." I was like, "What?" And I said, "Okay." And I'm pointing, and he's pointing. I said, "What in the heck are we doing right now?" He said, "Just wait and you'll see. Just keep talking. Just nod your head a little bit. Shake your head. Just talk a little bit. Keep it quiet so no one can hear what we're actually saying." And it didn't take me just a second. Someone just suddenly started walking over, and they kind of, from a distance, kind of peered over our shoulder to try to see what we were looking at. The moment one person did, someone else did. And people walking to different gates stopped going to their gate. It interrupted their entire destination.
And another in, and another in.
And then all of a sudden there was like 12 or 14 people like looking to see what we were pointing at and what we were discussing. And we weren't discussing anything. But the fascinating thing is that I realized in that moment that no one had any real reason
to be there.
There's no good reason that everybody would crowd around. Okay. Now, this is an artificial way to control other people's behavior because it wasn't anything. Right. Naturally, if there had been something dangerous right there,
you'd have ran anyway.
It would have made sense, because everybody would have wanted to know what's going on in order to protect their family,
right? In
order to make sure that there's nothing that would affect their lives. And so, it's kind of it's been called herd mentality. It's social proof in the marketing world, but people always underestimate it. In a live sales presentation, someone can do the offer, make the pitch, and then they can say, even if a guy stands up to go turn to the bathroom, for example, they can say, "That guy's got the great idea. He's going to get it." And then what does that do? That causes everybody to turn around and look, and anybody that's walking that way, they then instantly assume he must be going over there to make the offer. So if they were on the fence, then it tilts how how quick they need to go do it, because then they see 3 or 4 other people stand up and they're like, oh my gosh, if I want this thing, I'll be in line for 2 hours. I don't want to be in line for 2 hours. So then even more people jump up. It's like, well, maybe I'll just make the decision. I'll go ahead and go over there. Right. I may not do it, but at least I'll get in line. And then all these justifications and reasons
at the line behind you
for that.
It's over.
Exactly. And then so you're there, and then all these people must be doing it, so it must be a good idea. So I need to do it. And so then it lowers their risk assessment and lowers the boundaries. And then what happens? To be honest, if it works, if everybody's eating this red berry, it's probably safe. If nobody's eating it, it's probably not. And so this actually works for survival. But when you recognize it with intelligent creatures like us, people can manipulate it greatly. So in COVID, here's the way they did this. During COVID, they put a running tally of how many hospitalizations. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, why would they do that? Well, because that would this must be happening to all these many people. And hospitalizations didn't equal deaths. And so it inflated the numbers to make it, and so then therefore it was more important. Therefore they sell more advertisements on their page because more eyeballs are watching it, creates more hysteria, it makes more pressure, and it reduces everyone's critical thinking in order to get to a desired outcome.
Yep.
Right? And this happens all the time. Opt-in pages. If you go to the internet where they ask you for a username, for a name and email, that right there, if you just have a picture of someone and their face and their eyeballs are pointed towards the form, opt-ins go up like crazy.
I believe that.
It goes up like crazy. They did it. They looked at different political ads, like at the time, Obama, Hillary, and Trump. And every single time they did a variation of one of them looking at the form, it massively increased